Amazon's upcoming Lord of the Rings TV series is set to take place in the second age of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. Sauron has been confirmed to have a part in this show, and considering the time period that will serve as a setting for this series, some think that it's very likely we will get to see the creation and activity of the Dark Lord's infamous Ringwraiths. In this video, I'd like to talk about how the Nazgul came to be, and to highlight some of the powers and abilities that contribute to the fearful nature of these beings. I'd also like to discuss a few elements that have been established regarding the Ringwraiths and the lore of Middle-earth that we might see play out in Amazon's upcoming series. After the elf prince Celebrimbor's forging of the 19 rings of power in the Region, and upon Sauron's creation of the One Ring to rule them all, the elves realized Sauron's betrayal, and reacted by locking the rings away in one of the safes of a Region. This prompted Sauron to confront the elves in open war, through which he was able to successfully reclaim all of them. Since his original plan to bring the elven ring-bearers under his influence had failed, he then turned his attention to the lesser beings of Middle-earth. He distributed 9 of the rings of power to great lords and warriors of men. 3 of them may have been among the first and most powerful Númenóreans to be corrupted by the Dark Lord. 1,000 years before the downfall of Númenor, these men admired Sauron and became entrapped by his schemes because of their desire for power and knowledge. Additionally, as Sauron had spent much of his time amassing a following from eastern and southern men, it makes sense that one of the 9 was also an Easterling king. Sauron's forging of the One Ring enabled him to succeed in dominating the other rings and corrupting these 9 mortals. The men who received these rings became sorcerers and used them in attaining great prestige, power, and wealth. One feature of their rings was that any mortal who wore them was granted a lifespan far beyond their natural one. This is likely an unintended side effect, as Sauron originally meant for these rings to be worn by elves, who are immortal beings themselves. Likewise, the rings caused the lives of the 9 to be prolonged, and to see objects and creatures of the spirit world known as the unseen. In time, life became unendurable to them, and whenever they would put the rings on, they would see the phantoms and delusions of Sauron. The rings eventually made their bearers invisible to all except for those who could see into the Wraith world, and eventually, one by one, according to each of the 9's natural inability to resist evil, they became slaves under the domination of Sauron's One Ring, becoming wraiths who only did the Dark Lord's bidding. Only 2 of the Nazgul were ever named, that being the Witch King of Angmar and Khamûl the Easterling. The 9 were first seen around 2251 of the Second Age, and soon thereafter became Sauron's primary servants. The power and abilities of the 9 were tied to, and were either enhanced or diminished with the strength and might of Sauron himself. As such, they were temporarily dispersed after Sauron's defeat at the end of the Second Age in the War of the Last Alliance. But because of the Dark Lord's influence over them through the One Ring, both the Nazgul and Sauron were able to endure as long as the ring survived. Eventually, they re-emerged in the Third Age around the year 1301, as Sauron was able to regain strength. When considering the different abilities of the Ringwraiths, the Witch King is perhaps the most impressive, as he is said to have been the most difficult to slay. This stems from the fact that any weapon that struck him would be destroyed, and its bearer would be poisoned. The Nazgul were known to carry long swords of steel and flame, venomous daggers, and poisonous darts, with the Witch King additionally possessing a powerful black mace that could shatter shields and kill enemies with a single blow. Along with enhanced senses of hearing and smell, the 9 also had powerful voices, which were used to instill dread and terror into the hearts and minds of mortals. However, the Witch King could also influence matter with his voice, which he used to break Frodo's dagger and to weaken the gates of Minas Tirith. The Nazgul were also surrounded by a toxic aura of terror, referred to as the Black Breath. This could cause any who lingered in their vicinity to be disoriented and fall ill with intense exposure, potentially being lethal. As such, only specially trained horses or the fell beasts of Mordor could bear them. The Ringwraiths had poor vision in the physical world, but they were highly aware of the beings with a presence in the Wraith world, such as the wearer of the One Ring and certain elves. Anyone who was able to look into the Wraith world could see the Nazgul as they had appeared in their mortal lives. With the exception of the Witch King of Angmar, none of the 9 could operate well in the daylight, and they generally feared it. There were several heroes in Middle-earth who could resist the Nazgul's aura of dread, and were able to successfully confront and drive back one of these foes. The mighty elf Glorfindel, in fact, was even able to instill fear in the Nazgul's hearts. However, only a few could survive being confronted by all 9 at the same time. In regards to their activities during the Second Age, other than their great power and position as weapons of Sauron's will, not much is known. I believe this presents an excellent opportunity to explore and expand upon Tolkien's writings, as this allows for the creative freedom to use these formidable and easily recognizable enemies to enhance the danger and add intrigue to any potential Middle-earth-based story. Of course, this puts more pressure on the writing staff if they wish to incorporate the Ringwraiths into the series. It is certainly no small task to use the Nazgul in a way that fits into the established lore, while striving to be original and entertaining. This is where I think the real value of the Tolkien estate's veto power lies. Since it appears that the showrunners for the new Amazon series intend to write their own stories that involve well-known and beloved characters, it's good to know that the Tolkien estate will have the ability to nix any element that doesn't fit in with the main shape of his writings. If the estate is able to use this power in a balanced way to ensure that the series will respect the source materials while allowing room for creativity, they could greatly assist Amazon in presenting a series that could hold up to scrutiny from hardcore Tolkien fans and be a big hit with general audiences. Overall, the Tolkien estate's agreement with the studio helps me to remain in my cautiously optimistic position when looking forward to this new show. But I'd like to know what you think about seeing stories or scenes involving the Ringwraiths in Amazon's new series. Would you prefer seeing a new story, or would you like them to focus on the story that is already established? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Lord of the Rings and other sci-fi and fantasy content. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.